Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
It's true. It's a brand new episode of The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. Kurt Angle, The Undertaker, 2 first ballot Hall of Famers. I'm excited for this match. Man, I don't know if we know how good Kurt Angle was. And I think somehow I think he's underrated. And I think his time off from WWE and what could have been, man, I just think this guy, he's a great talent. He's a Hall of Famer, but I think he could have been like a top 10, maybe even top 5-ish of all time, had he not had the interruption in his WWE tenure. Jeff?
Yeah, I think it's just, especially when we were seeing him, we didn't realize just how good he was. Like, and whatever it may have been, now that we can look back and we know the type of athlete he was, it is like, it's almost incredible. And I think not only just his own ability, but as we're going to see, his ability to get a good match out of anybody. Like, he's that type of guy right now, you know. He's like almost like an AJ style. Just put him with anybody and you're going to have a good match. And so haven't seen this one in a long time, so I am excited to go back and watch this one.
Cool, me too. Let's get right into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
So this originally started out as a in-your-house pay-per-view, if you can believe that, way back when, February of 1998, and then it became a regular pay-per-view. This is February 19th, 2006. We're at the Baltimore. We're in Baltimore at the First Mariner Arena. 11,000 in attendance, buy rate of 218,000. So this is that pay-per-view between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Obviously, a lot of storylines to set up, a lot of stuff to do. This was just a SmackDown-only pay-per-view. And again, we've talked about how rough those were. You're asking $30, $40 for, a B show. Obviously,
yep.
You're only getting the talent from half the roster, right? And, in the case of SmackDown, the weaker half of the roster. So you'll see this show. It's tough, man. Cruiserweight Open, 10 minutes. Gregory Helms is going to defeat Kendrick, Funaki, Kid Cash, Nunzio, Paul London, Psychosis, Scotty 2 Hotty, and Super Crazy. Actually love all those guys. So there's a lot of talent there, but that was the Cruiserweight division. That was probably the entire division. JBL's going to defeat Bobby Lashley in 10 minutes. Matt Hardy and Tatanka are going to defeat Joey Mercury and Johnny Nitro. Pause. Like, how bad is this?
Ooh,
all nice guys, all talented guys, but are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Chris Benoit is going to win the U.S. Championship against Booker T in 18 minutes. Randy Orton is going to defeat Rey Mysterio. That was to determine the number 1 contenders match for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 22. And Kurt Angle and The Undertaker are going to wrestle for the World Heavyweight Championship. Just a brutal show, man. Again, fine show. I'm sure this main event's going to be awesome, but it's like, that's it. That's what you went to the arena for. That's what you paid $40 for.
It's almost weird because like the card itself doesn't give a lot to it. I'll say the build itself doesn't give a lot to it. Like it really just like you said, it's just like no way out, like a random pay-per-view taking place in mid-February, like whatever, and so it fall into that weird time frame too of like what we talked about here. And so this was one, so even getting here felt a little weird. So your Royal Rumble previous this, you actually had Angle defeating Mark Henry to retain the championship, but after the match was over, Undertaker wanted a challenge to Angle at this point. And so it really I mean, I'm going to describe it and be like, oh yeah, it makes sense. This was the time frame where we had like the back and forth, like the wrestler, they get each other face, and then someone gets interferes, and then you cap it off with a tag match, and that's exactly what happened here with these guys. First, you had Angle accepting the offer, but then you had M&M, which I know is Mercury Nitro Molina interfering with these match between Undertaker and Mark Henry, and those guys having a match. And then you had Undertaker getting saved after being attacked by M&M and Henry, and actually Daivari too. And then, of course, like on SmackDown the next week, then you have Teddy Long doing what he does and making the match it was a 10-2 handicap match of the Undertaker and Angle taking on M&M and Mark Henry. And then again, you had the two of them beating them after he got Johnny Nitro, and submit to the ankle lock. So I get it. Like it at the time it makes sense. Like it's just, this is the match that, this is what they wanted to give us. That's fine. The build was really weird. Like I said, we got the random tag match beforehand with these guys. Can they get along? Like, we can all hear it. Like, and so they obviously did get along, and we got to this match for now. That's kind of it. Like there wasn't a whole lot. Like it was very quickly Taker challenging for the title, and then they have a little back and forth match here and there, a tag match, and we get this match. It's kind of almost came out of nowhere in regards to what we got from it, but we'll watch it and then talk about it after the fact.
Yeah, I wish there was more to it.
I agree. Yep. But I guess let's get into it. Let's do this. We'll talk about it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we will. All right. So we are at the 2 hour and 15-minute mark of No Way Out 2006. 2 hours, 15 minutes. Jeff, are you ready?
Both guys in the ring. Let's do it.
All right. It's time for the payoff.
Oh, it's time for the payoff.
Wrestling Entertainment. Right, here we go.
The Phenom, the Undertaker.
Taker in the ring. And the gloves on, all black.
Nick Patrick assigned to this championship match.
Nick
That's
Patrick's
what it's all about, baby, right there.
Big gold belt.
That, you're in the wrong game. Nick Patrick,
great looking belt.
Didn't love the SmackDown referee.
We mentioned Angle.
Here we go. I like just the quickness of Kurt Angle.
Undertaker going right on the attack early on. Yeah, you're right about what
Angle
you're saying
looking
about the striker versus
this.
grappler wrestler type thing. But let's not mistake here. The Undertaker is very well versed in submission. We've seen.
So it's interesting because so we'll talk about this one. Like the build was almost so like underwhelming that we shouldn't get the match that we're about to get. Like it's been a while since I've seen it. It's going to be a good match. Like, but also like I feel like it just did no justice to itself, and even we're not. I feel like we don't sound excited about it, not because we aren't, but because like. There's really nothing to be excited about in the lead up to this.
Yeah, there was just a lot of that in this era of just putting guys together and we got to fill TV time versus, compelling storylines. I mean, even bad storylines are still storylines, right? So you sit there and you say, oh, well, the story to this is Kurt Angle was, stalking, Taker's wife. Oh, that's a stupid storyline, but at least it's a storyline, right? At least they're trying. I just, hey, we need to have a matchup and you two are going to wrestle. That's what I'd rather you swing for the fences with stories, and if they're hokey or weird or bad, so be it. At least you tried. We still talk about shitty stories to this day. We look at them, kind of fondly. And so at least there was something there. A couple weeks ago, we covered the Taker and ascending to the heavens and the casket match, and we're still talking about it. We still remember it. So how bad could it really be?
Well, and I think it speaks to the can they get along storyline, if you can even call it a storyline, but the can they get along angle is just not a thing. And we don't remember a lot of those because it wasn't a good thing to do. Like you said, even if you fail, and there have been some failed stuff, over the road is littered with it type thing, that we still, that's fine. They tried it. It didn't work. We'll call it the worst segment ever and move on. But just to have whatever, all right, yeah, well, he's going to challenge him and they're going to have the people he's fighting with and they're going to have a match. And then, we got to tag him up. I remember even at the time, it was and we joke about it now because we know it was so overused and so overdone. It's can they coexist? I think it's part of the the Survivor Series dilemma too, is no stakes to that. I don't give a shit if that SmackDown brand is better than the Raw brand. Who cares? I don't care if these two can get along. I want to see these two wrestle. That's what I want. And so I think that just trying to find the best way to do that, it's hard. And so I will say Angle's moving incredible. He looks like $1 million. Taker's moving pretty svelte too. Here he goes. Looks like he's about to go walk the ropes. Yep. And so, still doing that as well too. Looking great doing it. Yep. Fantastic. And so, Taker's moving real well too. So I will at least in that aspect, I'm sure these guys are hurt as hell. They look like $1 million out there with what they're kind of doing already, and kind of nice little act. Taker kind of getting a lot of offense in on Angle early here.
Did you catch, and I'm bringing this up because these guys are both kind of retired, but maybe we get another match from them, who knows? Did you happen to catch what they did for Jamie Noble?
Wasn't it a house show thing or something?
Yeah, so he grew up in West Virginia. There was a house show in West Virginia, and he wrestled. I think it was the first time in 10 or 12 years or something, and he said it was his last match. And I think he, pinned Sami Zayn or whatever, or maybe Solo Sikoa. But I loved it. I thought that was an interesting blueprint. It's there's a lot of guys that never had a last match. And not everyone's going to be Ric Flair and have the Ric Flair last match. Not everyone's going to have a WrestleMania send-off. But I thought that was a really happy medium of hey, I want to have one more match. Great. Then pick your hometown, and we'll let you main event a house show. Dude, he still got it on film, and there were, 8,000 or whatever people there, and they were super into it. And, the guys kind of congratulated him afterwards. I just thought that was a really interesting blueprint for a final match. If it's one of these guys that, we think highly of, Hurricane Helms or, a Jamie Noble or someone like that. Great. Yeah. Let's just main event a house show. What's the harm in doing that?
And you see that all the time. I think Vince, and especially now in the post Vince era, you're that stuff is a little bit more allowed. I know I think it's great. I think the idea of it, why not type thing. It doesn't even, you said main event. I don't even think it has to be a main event. Let him go open the card and have his moment, let him, let him or her, go out there and get in that last moment, and who knows, for him, it gets you excited again for it, or maybe it's like, hey, no, I truly know I am done. I'm going to go back to my, whatever other job I have type thing. And so I think that's all. I think it's great.
Right into your living room with that one, baby. You see that? Holy smokes.
Taker just caught Angle, threw him in the post.
Wow.
I think too, is we're kind of watching this kind of, Triple H era kind of come into itself. I think we're going to see more of this. I know even Nakamura recently came out and said, he did the kind of some of the final matches with the Great Muta, and he had said even himself in an interview that him being involved in that would have never happened under Vince. Like Vince would not have allowed that. I think something like that happening would have never been allowed. I think there was still, even to your point about this and the retire, kind of having that last moment. I think even when Vince wasn't at house shows, I think there were still a lot of rules about the house shows, what they were and weren't supposed to do. And unwritten, hey, the boss is still watching type thing. Cause they still recorded all those, there was always whether it didn't have to be Madison Square Garden for footage of those things to get out. But you did something you weren't supposed to do or wasn't fully they got a little bit of leeway, but you did something you're supposed to do. And that was it. And so I think maybe we'll start to see some more of these kind of, branches and opportunities for people like something like that of, hey, let them go out and have a 10-minute tag team match. No, it's not hurting anybody, And I think it's just, like you said, I think it's a real cool opportunity, especially like a hometown guy. Why wouldn't you want something like that to happen? Especially, if you have family and stuff like that. I know, as much as I shit on Goldberg, I know a big reason he came back was because of his kids, and he wanted his kids to see him out there and what he can do. That's got to mean something for some of these guys too, of as much as they're on the road, as much as they beat up their bodies, when they get into that next stage of their lives and they have kids, maybe their kid is 7, 8 and they've never seen them wrestle, but hey, look at what daddy and mommy can go do. I think that it extends beyond just the individual in the ring, which I think is really cool. Great shot block from Angle, kind of working the big man down. Yep, go ahead, sorry.
What do you think Vince McMahon's doing right now?
Okay. So my wife and I had this thought the other day because we were watching Master Chef, and you ever think Gordon Ramsay is just on the couch and is you know what? I'm just going to go out on my pajamas and go through the drive-through. That doesn't happen. And I don't Vince. I'm the same boat. That guy. I don't know what he could possibly be doing. He doesn't just go get in the car and is I'm going to go to Target.
I'm fascinated by the thought of this. I have no idea. I agree.
Right. And that's the thing. It's not like they could just go to the store. It's not like, he can just do anything. The constant rumors of I'm sure he's busy. It's got to be busy. I don't know with what, but I don't see him sitting around. Maybe during the holidays. I wonder, I'm sure they spent the holidays together with the family. But I don't see Vince hosting sitting at the head of the table, carving a ham for, Triple H and Stephanie and Linda. It's not happening. And so I don't even know. Well, I say with family, I don't even know what their holidays look like. Do they just do Triple H and Stephanie get in the plane from Connecticut, or I don't even know where Vince's houses are, but does the limo take them over and they spend a couple hours at Grandpa's? It's a great question, because your brain goes to so many weird places of what does this man that's been doing this for as long as he has do with his life now that it was gone and overnight?
Yeah. I mean, it's just fascinating.
Is he just working the finances? Who knows, man?
I mean, what is he doing? Because I think an interesting parallel in a lot of ways is Trump. Well, when Trump lost the election, he started running for re-election and he made speeches, and like there was no shortage of things for him to do after the election. But like you take a guy like Vince right now, what does he do? He can't be involved in the company. He's not starting another wrestling company. He has no other outside business ventures. He has no hobbies. He's not he's not really like a public figure per se. So it's not like he's giving speeches or involved in politics or involved in nonprofits. I mean, like, what does he go and do? Any politician who loses an election, like they are still involved somehow, some way. Any CEO that gets fired ends up doing consulting. Like, what the hell is this guy doing? I think it's fascinating. And it's not like, he's out there playing golf every day. He's never swung a golf club in his life.
Yeah, it's comical because too. I think the analogy here, you can keep running with it. Like Trump, like, okay, even if he makes an announcement and then it falls flat, like Trump's announcement is a lot bigger, but then like you've got like Vince, like, he says something that his next venture, and we don't hear anything about it for 3-4 months, and it's like, okay, well now what? Like he's not doing anything, or he's failing, or like Trump, like he just he's golfs 6 days a week. Yeah, you thought like, yeah, Vince, like, is he just working out like 8 hours a day, like getting up at like, is he is he sleeping in an extra hour? Like, because you would always hear those stories of like he's in the like Batista would go to the gym at like 4 a.m. and Vince had been in there for an hour and a half. Like, it's just like, is he sleeping in till 5:30? Now, like, it's just, who knows?
So it's kind of an interesting show. Angle had the ankle lock on the outside because he caught his legs.
He might have just shattered the ankle. Again, back to the ankle. Again, back to the ankle. That is the bad leg. That is the bad leg of the Undertaker. One Kurt Angle's been working on all night long.
Everybody's on their feet too. I don't know if you noticed that. I don't nobody has sat down since the start of this match, so they're definitely invested, at least in that aspect of it.
It's interesting. But I think this era, I think about like the early to mid 90s, you'll hear Bruce Pritchard says it a lot, but you'll hear other people say it too, where they'll say, oh, the business is cyclical. Like, is an excuse for, like, to me, it's an excuse, but like, I'm like, no, there were times where you had no stars or your storyline sucked. It's like, oh, well, 1992, the business is cyclical. No, your booking sucked. Hulk Hogan was nowhere to be found. You weren't able to, turn Ric Flair into a star in New York, per se. You were trying to do a youth movement that really wasn't working. Like, spare me the business is cyclical. Your booking is cyclical. Like, It's not like, oh, well, TV shows are cyclical. No, good TV shows have high ratings from the time they start to the time they end, right? So the cyclical thing, I just think, is bullshit. Maybe you can argue, like, throughout the calendar year, hey, it's tougher during Monday Night Football. I can buy that. But to say, like, oh, well, we're like, there's going to be times where we have good years and bad years. Well, if you have great booking, the next 10 years are all going to kick ass for you. So I don't know. I just think there's times where the booking, and again, I do put it on Vince, where like the booking sucked.
Well, and I think even to your football argument, here's the thing. Like, okay, it's cyclical. Football happens every year. So, like, figure it out. Like, you can't blame football every year for if you have a bad ratings week. Like, it's just going to happen. Here's the other thing, too. I saw, like, a number the other day was, like, one of those SmackDown did was one of the had one of its lowest ratings in months. But also it was still in the top 5 cable programming. So like, it's not just always WWE either. And so I think you have to take it outside of that bubble too. And so that's why I kind of stopped reading the whole lowest ratings or pulls its biggest number, because if you don't, like, we don't read TV ratings, so we don't know how that works and demographics and all this other stuff. Like, they're watching it minute by minute, hour by hour. They know everything, what's happening, what's working, what's not. But like there are some of this stuff that like we just don't, we're just not built to understand it. And so I think that, yeah, this is one of those where if you're just putting on a good program, it shouldn't matter. Like people will watch it, people will hear about it. Like, even there's like Sol Ruka, the new girl down at NXT, like she had a crazy finisher where it's like a twisting like RKO off the top rope. And like, I don't watch NXT much anymore, but like if something cool happens, you hear about it. And so, yeah, so I'm like with you of just like kind of putting this like, blame it all you want on the cyclical of it. Like at the same time, like you've also had one of the longest running television shows ever. And so to say, well, there's nuances about this and that, it's like, what's going to happen. Don't bullshit the bullshitter here.
Yeah.
These guys are working hard here. You've had Angle working the leg of Undertaker selling that. You've had Angle just trying to do everything he can to continue to do that. Taker now trying to get he's been working the outside a lot with Angle and trying to work him there. So it looks like we're maybe about to lose not yet. I thought we were going to lose a Spanish announce table. Main event on a WWE pay-per-view, and we still haven't lost a Spanish announce table. That's weird. Okay, so unless they reset it up, we don't know. But Taker just kind of real stiff shots. Real stiff. To Angle on the outside here. Oh man, we're gonna lose the regular announce table.
Here comes your announce table.
Ooh, I heard Michael Cole. I see Taz. Yep, there we go.
Hey, you guys beat the shit out of each other. But do you see?
Yeah, this isn't a good match.
We were talking about this a few weeks ago, though. But do you see what I mean when you compare this to a WCW main event? Like no one
absolutely.
did this during WCW.
Right.
This is how every WWE main event is. Like guys, like stiff 20-minute. Oh, there you go.
Yep. Slam through the announce table. Holy cow!
Everything he had to get it off. Yep.
Point out one WCW match to me that looks like this. Two great athletes beating the shit out of each other. Stiff 30-minute match with the crowd on their feet.
Well, when the Hulkster is your main event every time, it's hard to do it,
But when Hulk Hogan came back to WWE, he did it with The Rock. Okay? He still had it in him. It doesn't, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, you never saw matches like that.
Yep.
Like, this is just fantastic. It's a hell of a match, dude.
Angle slam. Yep, there we go. Undertaker trying it up. This is no DQ as well, too. We do have the ref counting at this point. So the Undertaker does have to get back into the ring at some point here.
I'm telling you, Undertaker's going to get counted out. Do it. I'll keep you we got to do it.
Oh, I never heard that on the network before. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was interesting.
Beeped out Angle. So Angle's calling him off.
He was almost at the 10 count and then told him to stop because he wants to get 1, 2, 3.
God, Angle was good, man. I said it earlier. I say it all the time. I'm going to say it again. Man, if we could have just gotten him to go to rehab in WWE, stay in there. Yeah. Oh, what could have been. Oh. Looked like he landed on his neck on that thing.
Yeah, that looked crazy. We're breaking barriers, we're breaking tables, we're all over the place. Yep. Into the steel step there. Yeah, painful.
Just brutal, man.
Why don't we ask it every time we have an angle match? Are we going to see another angle match?
Another angle match or Undertaker?
Might as well do both. We're here.
Sure.
I want to say like Angle more than Taker.
Yeah, I think Angle for sure.
And I think Angle is more likely to have a match versus like some kind of cinematic something.
So Taker on the top rope. Angle interrupts it. Man, this is. I think it's a really good match, man.
I don't think the fans have sat down once. I think, at least what they're talking the hard cam side, they are standing the whole time.
Look at this. Undertaker with the right hand to the ribs. Got out of it. Turn Angle down. Look at those eyes, Cole. Look at the dead man. Both these at.
Taz was so good on commentary.
Yeah, very good. Oof. So Taker had pushed Angle off when he was going for a suplex. But then Angle ran back up real quick. And it wasn't even a full suplex, just kind of like body toss to Taker off the top rope.
That's a shame too, because you look at. I mean, Taker just looks fantastic in this match, and not to get ahead of ourselves, but the following pay-per-view, you're going to get him and Mark Henry in a casket match,
right?
Which is a shame. It just felt like there was, and I don't know who the right guy was, but just felt like there was a better story to be told.
It's just one of the. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to. They just weren't telling the stories then. Yeah, absolutely.
Not at all. The champion back to his feet. Go! Hands around the neck. Kurt Angle in trouble. Here we go. Went for the choke slam. Beautiful. Into the ankle. What a counter. What a counter.
Wow. Just wow. Look out. Just however far we're in at this point, and he is like almost 20 minutes. Angle's moving like the match just started. Look at him working Taker's leg, like just stepping over. I mean, it's a wrestling background, but like you still got to have the instinct to know what we're doing here. Like that's just amazing.
Yeah, other than if he wasn't sweating profusely, you'd never know. I mean, he's not like
right. Yeah, how would you know?
He's a machine. Didn't they call him at one point a wrestling machine?
Yep. But Taker gets a submission locked in too now. Like, yep, just great wrestling. Now, great mat wrestling from both these guys. Yep. I guess what did we expect though?
Yeah. This is even better than I thought.
Right back to the ankle lock.
So what's your like on a regular basis, like how much wrestling news are you like consuming? I mean, are you trying to learn as much as you possibly can? Are you trying to avoid spoilers?
I feel like this time of year, you and I both do a gigantic choke slam. My God, he had him about 8 feet in the air. This time of year, I usually try and go on a little bit more blackout. I think you and I both do that, especially on the road WrestleMania. We try and avoid as much as hearing about as much as possible. I would try and do it those couple of weeks leading up to Royal Rumble as well, too. Of I just don't want to. I don't want to know. Like I want to be surprised too. I want to know what's happening. I think that I will. I'm only checking 1 or 2 sites and Reddit. Reddit will usually give me like, everybody's got an opinion on Reddit, but if there's like something crazy that happens in a match, I'll see that but for the most part, in regards to like the behind the scenes news, like right now, like even I'd say even in general, I wasn't reading a whole lot because it gets tiring for one. Like it's just, and part of it is, I will check it some mornings, like after a Raw or, like a Saturday morning or even a Thursday morning, just to see like, usually if there's like one headline written about like Raw from the night or the show from the night before, I'll be like, okay, it was a fine show, but there obviously wasn't a whole lot that the dirt sheets felt a lot, not even the dirt sheets, just the report sites felt a lot to write about. And so, but if there was like 3 or 4, I was like, okay, maybe I should check it. And anymore, like I'm too busy with other stuff to follow up too much on some of that. But also this time of year on the road to WrestleMania, like dazzle me, like, let's give me the spectacle, give me the greatest show on earth. Like I want to see it happen, and I want to be just as surprised as everybody else. And like I always enjoy, like, because my buddies and I during COVID would set up like the Zoom, and we'd all kind of watch together from home. And then so somebody would inevitably be like, oh, like I read that this was going to happen, and I'm guilty of that too sometimes, but more like, especially a good surprise. Like I would rather, like this time of year, I'd rather just let it happen. Like give it to me out of the blue.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm kind of less and less these days. I want to just be entertained.
And you and I are not reporters too, but I think you and I have had this conversation before too. A lot of these sites, it is way too much filler. Like creating a headline out of a tweet that somebody tweeted and then writing a long article about it is not newsworthy to me. Like that, it is just like these random, like, oh, give me the, hey, 2 things you didn't know about so-and-so. Like, I do appreciate those. Like, remind me of some of that stuff, but also like, oh, like, Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy tweeted this, and like his court date got pushed back. Like, okay, like maybe that's a little bit of news too, but then it's like some random, the acclaimed raps this week was about it. Let's like, and then that's the article. It's like and so many of them too. And you and I talked about a couple in particular, like it's clickbait. Like it's some of the big names. Like stop. Like you're making yourself terrible.
I know. I just like, is it really do me any good for you to report these things? Like, do I even care? Like, I'd kind of rather just watch it on TV. And I don't need the spoilers and stuff. Like I like being surprised. So
Kurt Angle from behind. Oh my God! Angle's got it again. Angle's got him. That's it. Here's the champion. He's got it. Wait a minute. Triangle choke. He's got the damn triangle choke on. The triangle choke is locked in. Undertaker countered into a triangle. He's got that choke on tight, Cole. Undertaker's got that in, man. Angle's trying to get out. He's going to get choked out. Angle's going to tap. He might tap out. Kurt Angle may tap out for the first time in his career. The triangle choke is locked in here, ladies and gentlemen. You know what? Kurt Angle might be out right now for all we know. Look at him. He's turning purple, man. Kurt Angle. Kurt's going to tap. He's going to tap out Cole for the first time. Look at the arm. Look at the arm. He's going to tap.
Angle.
Did he tap?
Ankle
Kurt Angle's left arm. That's what you got to watch, ladies and gentlemen. He's trying to hang on. Kurt's going to tap up. The referee in purple position. That triangle. He's done. That triangle choke's done. Kurt's going out. He's sinking. He's going out. Kurt Angle's out. 1. If the arm goes down 3 times, we have a new champion. 2 more. He's done. There's 2. There's 2. We may have a new champion. There we go, baby. There we go. And Kurt Angle kept it up. He hung on. Wait a minute. He rolls through. He's got the choke on. Look at this. The triangle choke. Look at this. Wait a minute. Kurt Angle pinned him. Kurt Angle pinned him. Wait a minute. Pinned him. Oh, slow down. He didn't pin anything. Undertaker had that triangle choke on. Yeah, but Kurt Angle pinned him. I believe the Undertaker's shoulders were down. Taker was the aggressor.
Shenanigans.
You could hear this.
I don't know what's controversial about that. I mean, pinned him 1, 2, 3, right?
Right, yeah.
Taker had that hold on Cole. He had that damn triangle choke. Yeah, he did, but I think Undertaker's shoulders were down. Yeah, but there was a he did.
The winner of this match by pinfall and still World Heavyweight Champion, Kurt Angle.
Oh my God! Kurt Angle is the World Heavyweight Champion. Kurt Angle's going to WrestleMania to face Randy Orton. But what a match!
Okay.
Not surprising.
I just didn't the part I didn't understand there was like
what happened. Yeah.
He counted 3. Like what's that? What? I don't understand that at all. Okay.
You were rolled up. Right. Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's get into the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
I didn't understand the finish at all. I loved the match. I thought the match was fantastic.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I felt like that was that was up there with the Omega match. Like that was like they wrestled hard for that entire time. They go as long, but like there were not spots weren't as crazy. But like that was I have zero complaints about what just happened in that. Yeah. Why I don't understand why do the funky finish. Like I guess it didn't because it didn't ever pay off.
Why not just have Angle beat him? And then you're like, oh, I can't believe you did that. I almost beat I don't that's just kind of a cheap finish. That's a shame because that was a great match. Did not understand the finish though.
Yeah, just very weird. So okay, well, like we talked about this one on the aftermath, what we got here was actually there's a rematch actually on SmackDown, Angle defeating the Undertaker once again. And then you had Mark Henry interfering in that match. So you said that is where we end up getting the WrestleMania match between Undertaker and Mark Henry, which of course WrestleMania, which of course Undertaker won. But just like that part of it just really kind of weird. So it's just sure, I guess, like you said, like the whole part of why he had to do it that way doesn't make a ton of sense. And then, of course, you know, kind of going on with that. And then Rey Mysterio actually beating as well Randy Orton and Kurt Angle for the World Heavyweight Championship at that WrestleMania. So just kind of all that's the best way to do it. But like the match itself, though, like my God, like how do you like? It's one of those you don't want to overlook it. It's so good. And so PWI, this should not surprise anybody, but Kurt Angle was number 2 this year in 2006 with The Undertaker coming in at 59. Pro Wrestling Torch on this one, we got write-ups from everybody. Excellent pay-per-view main event backed by one of The Undertaker's best performances of his career. The wrestling was state of the art by WWE's main event heavyweight standards. 4.5 stars from the Torch on this one. Observer Newsletter. Okay, that turned into a damn incredible match, and both of these guys deserve all of the credit in the world. Taker helped him to his feet afterwards, but then stared him down and warned him that he had his number. I'm totally fine with the rematch. 4.25 stars. So 4.5, 4.25. Tom, where you at?
I really like that a lot. I'm gonna give it an 8.5.
Okay. What's your reaction? You got a reason, or just that you're going?
Yeah, no. It's just a great match. Not a major build or aftermath. It just was kind of there. So if there were some bigger, a bigger story attached to it, and it meant more, and it wasn't on a B show, I think you'd be talking about that match even more. I say this a lot, but put that on the WrestleMania card a month later, WrestleMania 22, and you have yourself a classic match. So, yeah, that's the only reason I don't have it higher. But I thought it was phenomenal. And, it shows you how good Taker was late in his career. It shows you a lot. It shows you how good Angle was. And what could have been with Angle. So I loved it, man. Again, you heard my only knock on it, but what a great match.
Yeah, absolutely. Really good stuff. So I'm going to put it in 8.5 as well. I think it was just phenomenal in regards to in the ring. I think it gets knocked down because they did such a poor job before and after telling a story and what they wanted to do, and just not great there. But I think overall the in-ring performance is one that I think if you haven't watched that match in a while, go back and watch that match, because that was very, very good wrestling and very, very good product in the ring. So yeah.
Loved it. That was a really, really good match. Very surprisingly good. I wasn't expecting it.
That was we've had 2 good in a row here now. This was even from the write up, I would have thought, wow, like how did we get a 4.5 star match? on what all this other crap we were dealing with, because we didn't even say it, like looking at the card itself, like 2.75, 1.75, like 3.75, like it would have been hard to say, hey, we're going to get this match, but that's exactly what we did, and it was absolutely worth it.
Loved it. Well, you've set the bar high over the past a couple months now. There's a lot of great matches. I hope you can continue to deliver.
Yeah, hopefully. I know we got some big coming up here. Next week, we're actually going to give the women the attention they deserve here. And so more of a recent match here, but we're going to do the NXT, especially with how much the women have been in the news, the 4 horsewomen. It's time to kind of watch one of their matches. And so it's one I actually have never seen that match. I know it's always talked about, but it's one that I want to go back and kind of watch. And so, and then we've got of course, we've talked about a 4 Kurt Angle. We're going to do another Kurt Angle match coming up against one of my favorite, Shinsuke Nakamura. And then, of course, it's hard to do a Flair Steamboat. So we got some Flair Steamboat at the end of the month as well, too. And then right into WrestleMania at that point. I got 6 WrestleMania matches, 7 WrestleMania matches lined up for us. So it's going to be a busy Triple Mania season for us, Triple H Mania season. Yep.
Love it. All right, my man. Another fun episode. For everyone listening, we appreciate it. We'll see you next week on an all-new episode of The Payoff.